Good morning, everyone. This is Claudia with Work Truck Solutions. I first want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us today. I know a lot of you have been on vacation, are planning vacations, so thank you so much. I know you're super busy taking care of some other folks who are probably out. So we really appreciate it. Today we have Holly Bailey, Will Brogan, and Joe Koshak on with me. It's our first time doing something kind of like a panel. We've done interview style before, but now we're all going to kind of take turns to talk about the importance of training. Training today, success tomorrow. So thank you all so much. Just to get started, we're going to go over some housekeeping items. There is a question box in your control panel. Please feel free to type any questions, comments, maybe any of your experience as we go through this. At any time, we'll go ahead and stop and acknowledge those as we go, but we will also have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So here is the agenda for today. We're going to meet the presenters since some of you guys aren't as familiar with all of them, give a little background there, and then we're going to go through the actual webinar discussing some e-learning and self-service training, one-on-one detailed training, group and on-site training, and outside resources. Then we'll dive into the question and answer session and go over a few closing statements and upcoming training opportunities that you and your dealership can take advantage of. So to get started, Holly, would you like to introduce yourself and give a little bit of a background?
Sure, you bet. Thanks, Claudia. And hi, Will. Hi, Joe. Hi, everyone on the phone. So my name's Holly Bailey, and I've been with Work Truck for about 9 months now. But I've been involved with education and software implementations for over 20 years, where I've worked primarily with city and local governments, but also law enforcement and secondary education, specifically with inventory, work order, and fleet management systems. But my real passion for about the past 5 years or so has been really online, on-demand education, where I've been able to focus on instructional design and development of those on-demand videos and documentation, really, help fulfill a need with our customers to understand processes and concepts and all of the tools available to them. So I'm happy to be part of today's webinar.
Thanks, Holly. And now on to you, Will. I know that a lot of you probably are familiar with Will Brogan, but I'll let him go ahead and give a little bit of background to himself.
Well, if you're not familiar with me, then you're probably familiar with my boss, Ken Taylor. There's a lot of names that are on this list that certainly know Ken and have known him for a great many years. Ken started our side of Ken Taylor Associates commercial truck training in 2000, and I joined him in 2012. So I've been at this for 6 years. Really more on the process end of things for us, but I've really taken a liking to the industry because it's really unique. And kind of like Holly said, I've really gotten into a lot of the online and on-demand training as well as the group training that we do that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So excited to have a lot of people here and excited to kind of share my observations, and hopefully it educates a few people.
Perfect. Thanks, Will. And then I'm sure that a lot of you who are signed up with Work Truck Solutions have met Joe Koshak before, or at least talked to him on the phone. But I'm going to let him go ahead and give a little bit of background and his experience.
Hey guys, welcome. Again, Joe Koshak. I'm a senior product specialist with Work Truck Solution. Been doing this almost 6 years now. And my background comes out of a whole lot of different software and law enforcement and different things. And I landed here, kind of dove into the commercial industry when I started, and have been doing training, one-on-one training with dealers for almost 4 years now. So that's why they invited me today.
And for many other reasons. He is our product specialist at Work Truck Solutions and has gotten to work with dealerships all across the board. He's worked with folks like AJ Hewitson, who is making me laugh over here. And then, some of the smaller folks who are just getting started, and he's gotten to see all different walks of the phases of commercial. So thank you so much for being on with us today, you guys. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys a poll question. It's pretty straightforward. You'll see it on your screen. Does your dealership have a commercial-focused in-house training program? And I'm not talking about, product training. I know that you guys all go through those. You go to truck clubs and things like that. but actually focused on how to sell and how to make those relationships happen in the commercial industry. Looks like about half of you have voted and the majority of you say no. So I'm really glad we're having this webinar today. Gonna give it a couple more seconds. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close that out and I'll show you guys the results. So not very surprised here, 100% of you say no.
Wow.
So I'm very thankful that we're doing this today. There's some really good opportunities coming up that we're gonna touch on. So let's just dive right on into it. Holly, I'll pass things off to you. Oops.
All right.
Oh man, I'm messing things up. Sorry.
That's all right.
Here we go.
You're great. So today my focus in chatting with you all is really to highlight the opportunities that are available with the on-demand online training world. So Claudia, if you go ahead and go to the next slide. I think it's important to first sort of take a look at the challenges that we're all facing in the commercial vehicle industry and start from there as a common ground. So I don't know if you all got a chance to see Fleet Management Weekly Video News did an interview with Paul Loria, the president of Mercury Associates, and Paul talks about what he calls the perfect storm bearing down on fleet, and he really highlights some overarching challenges that we're all facing. He has what he calls 3 storm fronts, if you will, to this perfect storm. So the first is those advances in information technology, and those have really created this amazing increase in the ability for all of us to apply data to drive better decision making. But as a result of this, expectations are really heightened, and there's this incredible demand for individuals who understand how to really get at that data, make sense of it, and then employ it effectively. So the second storm front are just the advances and changes in automotive technology. You know, the popularity of electrification, alternative types of fuel, and so fleet owners are needing to make sense of those changes and, of course, the costs associated with those. And finally, the biggest quote-unquote threat identified is really this loss of institutional knowledge. The baby boom generation are retiring, and we've been able in the industry to get by without employing these really data-driven, forecasting, technology-savvy employees because we have these amazing professionals with 20, 30, 40, 50 years of really practical experience, and you know, they just know how to do it. So the threat here is that we haven't made provisions for transferring that knowledge, and really a training plan to plan for those successions is really central to helping us address these challenges and you know, mitigate the threat to our individual dealerships and to really the industry overall. So I'm a stats girl. So Claudia, can you go to the next slide? So I'm gonna throw some stats at you. So I think we can all agree that disengaged people, employees or otherwise, just really don't work as hard as those who are just truly committed to the company and the brand. So when you have employees doing the bare minimum, it really does lead to an overall decrease in revenue to the tune of about $500 billion per year across industries, according to Wrap Media. 40% of employees with poor training leave their jobs within the first year. Go-to HR cites really a lack of employee engagement efforts from the organizations where they work is really fueling these exits. So professional and personal growth really are contributors to your best talent potentially looking for greener pastures. And then finally, HR Magazine reports that companies that invest $1,500 or more per employee per year on training average 24% higher profit margins. I'm just going to repeat that. Average 24% higher profit margins than companies with lower yearly training investments. So those are some good stats for you. And we have to start to wonder, you know, how can we face these challenges? How can we address the changes in the industry? So Claudia, if you can go to the next slide. one of the ways we do this that I'm really passionate about is online training, or what we call at we'll go one back. Yeah, what
Sorry
we
about
call,
that.
that's okay. I'm excited too. What we call self-service training here at Work Truck. And so I think most of us are familiar with what online on-demand training and learning, e-learning is, but I just want to go through to kind of make sure we're all on the same page. It's really training that the learner, the user can do anytime, anywhere on any device. And it allows that learner to start and stop the video as many times as they need. Many learners find it really helpful to have the training video on one side and actually really be in the application or the software on the other side and following along. And they can view as many times as they'd like, fast forward, rewind to portions that really speak to their need. What it can also do is afford your dealership the opportunity to scale your training, to address things like succession planning or your new hires, or speaking to the millennial generation of those digital natives who've really grown up with online activity as the norm. I know that we're all used to a big, thick training guide that doubles as a doorstop. I love me some training guide, but the next generation of leaders in our industry and current generation, the online world is here to stay. And within changes in the e-learning environment, there's really this emphasis now on micro learning. I created my very first online course in 2005, and it was 42 long minutes long. And today the bulk of my videos are about 6 minutes or less. So that's really been a shift I've seen. Also, this self-service online training, it really does complement your what's referred to as full service or high touch training, because it really reinforces concepts and it allows for ease and comfort for the learner, and appeals to a variety of learning styles. And finally, I really feel online learning can help facilitate this transfer of that unique institutional knowledge of our industry in an easy way and a repetitive way. So I feel this really speaks to some of the challenges we're facing and needs. And Claudia, go ahead and go to the next slide.
Definitely.
So,
And AJ
oh, go ahead.
went ahead and mentioned something that,
Sure.
people are extremely impatient today. He didn't say it
Yeah.
exactly like that, but, these short micro learnings really help to touch on that. I think that the current attention span of most millennials is something like 20 seconds or something
Yeah,
like that.
I know.
So it's really uh, crazy, and it's great that we're touching on these items because it's going to be something that comes up with the younger generations coming into play.
Right, exactly. And I've noticed my attention span getting shorter and shorter over the years. So I think that it really is the general environment, and people want it now right away, and the the concept of spending a great deal of time researching and evaluating something, it doesn't seem to be the ethic of the day, for better or worse. So online on-demand education really addresses that, and it can be fun. And that's the other reason I really like online learning. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about what it can really do for your dealership. And what it can do is it can speed up training time by allowing your employees to learn at their own pace. And that may seem counterintuitive, but if you throw a big user guide at someone, or you schedule them for 2 weeks of training at their lunch hour, that might not be when they are the most capable of absorbing that information. I do a lot of my best research and work from 5 to 7 a.m. And most training classes for organizations that I've been with, they don't start at 5 a.m. And so it really does speed up the ability to train your people if you give them the opportunity to learn when they want to learn, and watch 5 minutes and then make dinner and come back to it. So it does speed up training time. You can also save money by offering online learning because it doesn't require a classroom. It doesn't require a professional trainer-led type seminar where you fly someone in. So it's reducing your travel, your venue costs, your material expenses as well. According, Brandon Hall states that e-learning can increase knowledge retention rates by 25 to 60% for some of the same reasons that it can speed up training time, because it's engaging, it's interactive, and it's accessible. And finally, it can really increase productivity. IBM statistics tell us that e-learning can increase productivity by 50% because, again, it allows employees to train at times convenient for them in an environment where they are comfortable. I know for myself, having 9 months ago become a new person to this industry, I really wanted to gobble up all of the information I could to get up to speed, and really did that through a lot of online learning, through a lot of YouTube videos, and also, reaching out to thought leaders, not like many of the individuals on the phone in this group, to get my arms around it. So it's really a part of the whole training picture. So Claudia, if you can go one more slide. As I said, stats girl, so here's some more stats if you're not convinced. There really is immense financial benefit to getting your talent development program right. 70% of organizations report that e-learning helps them boost their competitive edge. 42% of companies report that e-learning led to an increase in their revenue. I think that one is key there, 42%. Organizations that really embrace this culture of learning can boost productivity by up to 50%. We've talked a bit about that. So it really comes back to keeping your employees productive and successful, and allowing them to really be committed to your dealership, committed to your brand. And that's what is of value to employees today. It's not just necessarily about salary. It's about an investment in the individual. And so, where do you go for content? Where can you look? Claudia, go ahead and go to the next slide. Industry thought leaders are really taking notice of the need for training. So most of us are probably familiar with NADA and ATD academies and the highly anticipated release of NADA's professional series that really beautifully provides this kind of hybrid training format of both a classroom and a big online component. And this training program really focuses on entry-level, high potential employees, as well as select groups of employees from particular core departments. NTEA offers a wide variety of online education and training programs, so that's a great resource. And then there are specific commercial dealership and sales-focused training opportunities like those offered by Commercial Truck Training that we'll talk about in a moment. And of course, Work Truck Solution, we offer personal training with product specialists that Joe will talk about, as well as we're really growing our on-demand video and videos and documentation to really complement all of these training modalities because we really want to be instrumental in furthering the growth and success of our customers and dealerships in the industry as a whole. So I know I talk fast and get excited about this stuff. So I just wanted to kind of leave you with sort of some closing statements before my time is done here. And, so what does all of this mean? And I really feel like it means that companies, across the board, dealerships really need to be looking hard at the return on investment in training. And I think you'll find, as many companies have, that there is a very direct correlation between training and your bottom line. And so oftentimes I'll say to folks that I'm chatting with that, you have to ask yourself if you can really afford not to provide training and professional development because the commercial vehicle industry is changing so much and there's new technologies every single day. Data-driven decision-making, it isn't just the fancy new thing, that's the norm. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And there's this huge need to transfer that institutional knowledge from the baby boomer generation that is retiring to this next generation of fleet and commercial leaders. So I'll leave you with a quote, because not only am I a stats girl, I'm a quotes girl, from Donna Abernathy, who authored a great book called Distance Learning, Reach Out and Teach Someone. And she's also a former editor of Training and Development magazine. She says, online learning is not the next big thing. It's the now big thing. So I hope that you have some good food for thought here to inspire you to sort of look at these challenges as really opportunities, and opportunities to explore online learning and how that can help you, increase productivity, increase revenue, and just face these challenges for, the coming years and today. So thank you. That's it for me, Claudia.
Perfect, Holly. Thank you so much. That was all such great information, and we're getting some feedback here. Everyone, it seems, is very, I'm just going to quote it directly, very thirsty for training, but there really hasn't been any standardized offerings. Even the training that they do get, it's basically all focused on product and not process, which is such a big, such a big deal. They need more stuff on process for the salespeople and managers to be able to manage them for growth on all ends of the spectrum. And, I completely agree with them. I would say that all of us on the phone here would agree that, this needs to be changed and it needs to happen now. So thank you so much for that feedback from the folks online. It's very helpful. So now we're going to go ahead and pass it on over to Joe and let him talk about some of the one-on-one training and his experience with that and the benefits that he sees it bringing to dealerships.
Perfect. Thank you, Claudia. And just for the record, neither one of these people are me.
They are not, but it was a great picture of one-on-one training.
So guys, I've focused on one-on-one training for the last many years, specifically to fleet and commercial. And when Claudia asked me to be on today, I started thinking about what that really means. And, if you look at professional athletes, even college athletes, you look at the Olympics, you look at any sport, any business, there's one-on-one training. They get with a coach, they do training, they're building their skill set. It's the same thing in sales. If you're not out learning, if you're not getting your team learning, if you're not helping to motivate your team to do these one-on-one trainings, to look at these online videos, to follow, just what's going on in the industry as a whole, you're failing your team. You're failing as a salesperson. There's so many resources out there that if you look, you can utilize. Coach Ken Taylor, he absolutely is amazing. After 5 years in this industry, I went to one of their boot camps. I had the privilege to be invited last year, and I still today use information that I learned at that event. If you guys aren't using somebody like Coach Ken, if you're a work truck solution, if you're not utilizing your dealer success coach to help you build your business, to help you grow your business, why are we doing it? If you're not out there every day growing your business and working with that one-on-one training to get better, it's just going to be stagnant. It's just going to move along. I have so many dealerships every day that call me and go, yeah, it's just not working. And I have to ask them, what training have you done? I can see that you haven't been with a product specialist from Work Truck Solution in over a year. And so you don't know what the new tools are that are in your tool belt, arrows in your quiver. And people like Will and Ken, they come out to the dealerships. They'll come out and teach you. You have a phone call to your dealer success coach. Our product specialists are always available at Work Truck Solution. And there's 100 other resources out there in the industry if you go and look for them. A lot of times a quick phone call to somebody like that absolutely will help. I see Terry Minion's on here. He's been a great resource for me. His book over the years has been a great resource to follow back up on. So there's a lot of resources out there for you guys to do one-on-one training, but you have to be motivated to go out there and get it and actually do it. Spend the time. Pay attention to what's going on when you're talking to those trainers. I was on a training this morning with a dealer, and I can't tell you, probably 6 times, he said, I'm sorry, I lost track of what you were saying. Can you start over? He wasn't paying attention to me. He had no interest in being on that training. His boss told him to be there. So get on those one-on-one trainings, pay attention to them, make them a priority in your life. If you don't, you're not going to get any better than you are. Those Olympic athletes don't just go out there and do their sport by not practicing and not getting better. Every day they're learning and they're trying to get better and they're getting faster and stronger. You guys need to do the same thing. It's more of a brain game in sales, but the tools are out there and you have to take advantage of them and use those one-on-one resources to really knock it out of the park.
Yeah, investing a little bit of time, working directly with someone is going to end up saving more time and bringing in uh, more results and revenue in the future. Would you say that, Joe?
Absolutely. And I see it so many times every day when I talk to dealers and they're just frustrated because they're not getting anywhere. And I ask them, well, what have you done? What trainings are you doing? Have you talked to, commercial truck training? What are you doing to make your department better? Well, nothing. I'm busy. We're all busy. So what are you doing to make it better? There's things out there that'll save you time. I'm in a lot of dealerships every year, and Will, you can attest to this because you are too. They've got stuff stacked to the ceiling. They're so busy and they're spinning around in their chair trying to figure out what's going on. With a little organization and a little bit of training, they're going to have more hours in the day, and the bottom line is you're going to sell more trucks.
You're exactly right.
And so, stop being self-inflicted busy and let's get busy getting busy.
Absolutely.
So that's my soapbox. There is so many things here, guys, so many tools out there available to you. Please call us if you need help finding them. We will help you find them. We will put you in touch with whatever, we can do to help you. We'll help you with training. We'll get you in touch with Terry or Ken or whoever's involved and get that going. It's so important every day.
Absolutely. And you kind of touched on this, Joe, as well. With that one-on-one training really comes a partnership and a relationship that gets built up. I'm sure that you have dealers who might not even be in the industry anymore, but once were, and you were very close with them, who still reach out to you. I think that you were saying that you've, made connections with folks because you're both Elks members, and so that kind of brings on an even bigger opportunity. Not everyone might want to do this for the rest of their life, which is totally fine, but making that connection and making that commitment to yourself to go out there and meet other people and learn from other people and be willing to take what they say and actually apply it. I think that that's such a huge opportunity, and just the relationship alone that you can build with someone else could be such a big opportunity for you that I think is sometimes forgotten about in these, one-on-one trainings.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Will now.
Hi there, Claudia. Before I get going on my stuff, I actually wanted to offer just quick follow-up points to both what Holly and Joe had to say. Holly, on your end, we see a lot of the desire for the micro learning, as you worded it, as well. And that's something that with our online training that we offer, we're looking at doing as well, because we've got several videos throughout our modules that are that they exceed the 40-minute mark. And I think our shortest one's like 10, maybe 12 off the top of my head. So one of the breakdowns that we're looking into is how can we get these to the same material, even if we have to re-record them to 8 minutes or less. And from there, can we index them to if you have a specific problem? Of course, like.
Hey, this time it's not me, but it wouldn't be a Work Truck Solutions webinar without a dog in the background.
Oh, I thought about warning you guys about that, but he's so calm, and of course FedEx shows up.
There you go.
Never
Yeah,
fails.
exactly.
Never fails.
Yep. But yeah, as I was saying, to be able to index those problems so that if you're having something specific, you can go right to our training, click a couple buttons, and bang, you have the training video that you need. Similar, and I guess in a way, to the Work Truck Solutions carousel as far as inventory goes, just a different concept. So we get that on our end. And then Joe, everything that you touched on brings me back to a quote from Ken, Ken Taylor, that I absolutely love, that I hear over and over from our partners that come to the boot camp, that they use it as well, and that is nothing works unless you do. I'm going to go in a little bit briefly to the two partners that we usually have for our Ultimate Bootcamp. Of course, one of them is Work Truck Solutions, the other is Ally Financial. And whoever is presenting, that thought process comes up either from Ken or the presenter, and that, look, these products are great, but if you don't put the work in, you're not going to see any results. And I'm sure you guys see that on a daily basis, and so do we. So I just wanted to throw those two out there to emphasize what Holly and Joe are talking about. And then I also have another quote that kind of encompasses the importance of the training, and got permission from Claudia to use this, even though it's a little bit cheesy and it's a little bit from a kind of a youthful time, but it makes so much sense to me. A high school football coach of mine, when I was doing a drill that I really didn't want to do because I was getting hit a lot as a quarterback, he pulled me aside and he said, listen, we all know what a difference 1 yard can make in the game of football. So he said, if making the effort to prepare is going to get you even just 1% better, don't you owe it to yourself to do it? And a lot of times when I'm doing something, even just in work or a workout, something like that, that I don't really want to be doing, but I know needs to be done, I come back to that quote. And I think that applies a lot to the training aspect of commercial and fleet, and that you have some maybe sales calls to make, you have some deals to take care of, but if you're not taking those few minutes to learn, are you actually getting better, or are you just treading water? So take that quote maybe, and I can actually write it down for anybody that wants it in its regular form. But moving on into the group training, the four concepts that Claudia laid out there in the slideshow. The first thing with group training that I think is vitally important is having both concepts and action plans and having them work together. Any group training worth its salt at all will have an action plan, but the key here in this space is it specific to commercial and fleet, or at the very least business to business sales? We had a dealership not long ago where Ken was actually in the dealership at the time working with the commercial side, and they had a retail trainer that was spilling over into commercial that basically was pounding on one concept, that was everybody in the dealership making 30 cold calls a day. There wasn't a whole lot of productivity out of that, and the commercial and fleet guys basically just laugh that off. So any group training that you do, which obviously we do with the Ultimate Bootcamp, and we preach this, has to have an action plan and has to have it be as specific to commercial and fleet, or at least business to business sales, as possible. The second thing in group training that I think is at least really special in this space, if not in auto in general, is that you're not alone. There's a networking bonus to this. And in my observations of having obviously attended every single one of our boot camps, is that when people come in, the attendees come in, they have a bit of a hermit mentality. They want to keep to themselves. They want to learn themselves. They want to take notes the way they do and not really be bothered with anybody else. But about 2/3 through that first day, at some point, somebody's going to realize that the person sitting across from them has a lot of similar problems that they do. And what happens is they end up finding out shared solutions. We stop and we have a significant type of full room discussion in which multiple suggestions come up. And what comes out of that is that shared understanding, hey, you're not alone and we can work together on this. And that networking kind of develops naturally out of dealing with that problem. The third thing, and we touched on this earlier, is the guest speakers and the partners, and the really thing, whatever program, whatever product that they're promoting is great in its own way, but the people that we bring in, and Joe, you're one of them, and Claudia, you as well, is that they know the space of commercial and fleet, and they know the people of this industry very, very well, and they can offer the right resources. That's something that I keep coming back to when I was going through my notes for this, is the word resources, and the guest speakers are really, really valuable there. They can provide all the diagnostics and the suggestions and the solutions in the world, and they can really make a significant difference in your numbers product-wise, but these are people that, when we have the right ones, which we almost 100% of the time do, they know who to connect you with so that you can be successful and you can get the resources that you need for those situations so that you can either get through a problem or get better in general. And then the fourth point here, the group share interaction. This is my favorite point. And Claudia, I'm very glad that you have this picture from what we did at Roseville last year, because we had a great group, and that U-shaped dynamic is really good. And that what happens specifically at our ultimate boot camps, and to a lesser extent our regional boot camps, if only because those are a little bit bigger, everybody learns something from somebody else. Even if you've been in the industry for 3 weeks, you probably have experience from another something, even if it's, we had a lot of guys from our last one came straight out of college athletics and somehow found their way in fleet and commercial, but we found a way to make each other's experiences and ideas valuable to other attendees. I can't overemphasize this enough, because it's a hidden aspect to really good group training. You're all there for the same thing and you can all learn from each other. Even if you're a veteran, you can still learn some of the energetic new things from rookies, and then obviously vice versa with knowledge from veterans. So Claudia, you can go ahead and flip the slide. Then as we shift, this is something obviously that Ken has been doing for quite a while, and I've dipped into specifically with the guys in the picture at McGrath, but some other places as well, and that's on-site training. This is really where you get into what Joe mentioned earlier about the one-on-one. This is where you get the personalized attention of having a personal coach. My boss, his actual trademarked tagline is America's corporate and personal coach. So that's a mindset that we've had really since, I'm sure long since before I started working for Ken, is really having that specific resource, that go-to person that can provide you exactly what you need. Steer you in the right direction when something goes wrong, recognizing those hard to spot mistakes and getting you on the right path. That personalized attention is really, really good. And we do it through coaching calls, but you really see it come to fruition in the on-site training. I see what you're saying there, AJ. The diagnostics, this is something that is important for everybody. I really want to touch on this, because one thing that Ken does very, very well, and other guys, I'm sure Terry, you do this too, Gil Wise on the East Coast touches on this as well, is understanding the dealership structure and habits, and whether or not the dealership is truly ready and truly willing to support the efforts of fleet and commercial. There are so many dealerships that we see where the commercial salesperson is doing everything right and can't get support from up top because they don't understand it. It's your job as the commercial salesperson or manager to be able to understand how to sell it to upper management. I'm sure a lot of people battle that every single day, but if they're not willing and able to be bought into the efforts that you're making, you're always going to be battling that barrier. So one of the things that we pride ourselves in is being able to diagnose those and at least offer you workarounds, if not Ken actually offering to call to try to get that breakthrough. So, but I'm sure, again, that's something that everybody has dealt with, or if you're new, you're going to be dealing with it. And then the on-site training, this one is a little bit of a mixed bag with the geographic knowledge and networking. One of the things that Ken also prides himself in is being able to diagnose which association within your area is going to be right for your strengths and weaknesses, and also your availability and your industry knowledge of other industries. And then also too, what's available as far as working with industries that are very prevalent in that particular area and drive a lot of the same vehicles that you're able to provide. But it goes even beyond that too, is understanding the regions and just the way people talk to one another. I mean, the relationships that you would have on a small talk basis here in the South are vastly, vastly different from what you guys have up in Chico. Joe, you could probably speak to that more than anybody else, but it's a different language, even though we're all speaking English, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. In fact, Will, I use that all the time. You go to Mexico and they'll speak English to you, and you'll get what you need, but it's a whole different language. You speak the same language and you're going to get a lot different results.
Right. And, you know, the personalities of the different areas too. The one that stands out the most is the Northeast. If you guys are very familiar with kind of the way that they do things up there.
Mhm.
But you know, we see a lot in the South that's very friendly, and but still there's a little bit of a backhanded to it. So understanding those things even before we go in anywhere, and then having the background of what the associations are going to do, those are different on-site things that we can actually help you again get through management to make those efforts successful. And then lastly, this is a point that everybody can make, and that is the follow-up accountability. One of the things that we've really emphasized in 2018 in particular is having our sales consultants that we're working with fill out their stuff either on a CRM that they can share, or a tracking form that we've provided, or even something as simple as a Google Sheet. Who did you call? Was it an appointment call? Was it a cold call? Was it in person? What did you talk about? How many vehicles did you sell? Basically getting to what type of activity are you making? Are you making the right ones? Do we need adjusting? Are you following through on the different marketing pieces that we've probably talked about? Stuff like that, that having Ken been in this for 18 years and now myself for 6, we already know the pathway to take. And we're learning new ways to get better at those every day, but we know, you know, X leads to Y leads to Z equals dollar signs. Um, those things will allow you to have solutions that will get implemented faster, that will ultimately save you some headaches as a sales consultant, and hopefully save the dealership from having to make another hire. So I do want to leave one quote though, and this came up in my mind when Joe was talking, to kind of wrap it up, Claudia, and that is, this is one of my favorites because it applies directly to cold calling. This is from John Wooden, the legendary basketball coach, who says, "Don't mistake activity for achievement." And we do want to actually provide activity levels and all that, but if you're making 20 cold calls and not seeing anybody that's a decision maker, you're just active, but you're not achieving anything. So be working toward that achievement. That's it,
Great,
Claudia.
I
Thanks.
love that quote. Thank you so much for all of that insight. Yeah, you guys, something that got brought up in my head while Will was talking is, being flexible. You have to be able to be flexible. Every single one of your clients is going to be different. Their needs, although, overarching are the same. They need to be more efficient. They need to be more organized. They need to have the tools and the abilities to use their vehicles to get their jobs done. But the flexibility of you understanding what those different needs are and being able to adjust and speak their language, it's a huge barrier that a lot of folks need to start focusing on and being able to do. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of things and then we'll dive right into the question and answer session. I know we're getting to the end here. So just, ongoing training and resources. Make sure that you guys are attending the webinars. Even if you can't attend them, check out the recordings later when you have some time. They're our webinars ourselves are on YouTube, so it's really easy. Even if you guys were driving out to go see a client, you guys can actually play those as you're driving because there might not be something you need to see necessarily. It might just be listening, which is still very helpful. NTEA puts on fantastic webinars. So does NADA. They all have webinars that you guys can attend. If you can't attend, I always recommend registering because you will get a link to the videos afterwards, whether it's us, NTEA, or NADA. And there's so many other resources out there that do webinars. Even if you're trying to learn about management or marketing, follow some groups that are, focused on those items and then apply them to what you're doing. Blogs, articles, other publications. Terry Minion has a great blog that comes out, I think, every month or every week. He also has a few newsletters. Commercial truck training. Will just started doing a podcast, which is going to be huge. There's a lot of insight knowledge that goes on there. He's going to have different guest speakers, so make sure that you guys are tuning into that as well. And then, there's a lot of different areas where you can learn on social media. Follow the folks who are posting, follow the nap hides, follow different partners of yours because they're not only posting product knowledge stuff, they're actually helping you guys to be able to connect with your customers better. Because when you do well, they do well. And so they want to help you to achieve that. And same goes for all of us. We want to be your partner in success. So make sure that you reach out to us. I promise we don't bite unless you're, pulling an AJ and just really being difficult. I'm just kidding. No, actually, we love the difficultness that AJ brings to us sometimes because those challenges really make us learn more about the industry, and it makes us realize that, we can't just be living in a tube of what we think is correct. We need to be opening up our minds and learning about the different areas, the different regions, what the different challenges are. And so, let us know, provide us with feedback so that we can help you and bring you guys more information that will help you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions right now. So feel free to, AJ, you're funny. Feel free to go ahead and submit those questions right now. I know we went over a ton of information, so if you don't have questions right now, you can always reach out to us at a later time. I'll go ahead and include all of our contact information in the follow-up emails that will be sent out tomorrow. So feel free to ask away. And if there's any statements or anything that you guys thought of during anyone else's presentation, feel free to mention anything during this time as well. It might help pique some questions.
I think I got mine all out already. That and Hemi over here, the dog.
I think one of the things, Claudia, that struck me from a comment earlier is I think one of the challenges, and we're all kind of navigating the best way to handle it, is it's very easy, well, not very easy, but it's easier to prepare training materials for a mechanical process or a math problem, for example, because there's pretty much, maybe one or two ways to get to the desired result, and no one's, quibbling over what that result is. 2 + 2 is 4, or fuel your car this way. But for some of the stuff that's more difficult, as was stated earlier, with processes and best practices and those steps that you can take, it's that kind of institutional knowledge that someone just knows how to do it. And it becomes one of the things that's difficult is it's hard to break that how to do it down into a teachable format. And that's where, those micro learning components come in, and Will highlights that can be difficult at times to kind of break it down and index it. But I really feel that I'd encourage, the listeners, and as we're all doing, to try to break down those really important pieces of information into, kind of digestible chunks, especially when you're, talking about a process that hasn't been completely mapped out, that's just part of someone's day-to-day work world that they've learned from trying different things. And the purpose of training is to kind of take the best of the best and help people get from A to B a little easier than maybe those who blazed the trail before us experienced. So I just kind of wanted to add that it's a challenge, and I sympathize with that for sure.
Absolutely.
One of the illustrations, I think, of the importance of training that I actually had a conversation on, I think it was Friday, with Russell Savage of Work Truck Solutions. And he and I were just kind of joking around, and he said, if everybody did it right, we wouldn't have a job.
Right.
And I thought about that a lot because I was driving at the time, and it made me think, if everybody swung a golf club right, there would be no golf coaches. If everyone knew how to fix their toilet, there would be no need for plumbers. So you can apply that to any industry and any action, really, and that we all have strengths and weaknesses, but those of us that are in these positions to be able to train, we spend more time observing the mistakes and understanding how to correct those so that when they come up, we can offer those solutions to everybody. And it might be a situation, as AJ highlighted, at least in these in the chat box, of some people just don't have the time to go into the training, but they want it and they have to find a way to get it, and we're here to provide that. So it's kind of that vicious cycle that he put in there as well. Everybody has
it's
to learn. Go ahead, Joe.
It's interesting. Somebody just brought up a good point. One of the big things that I found, especially when I first started in this industry, and it was just brought up in a comment to us, is the egos. These guys have been doing it
Hmm.
for 30 years, and I've only been in the industry for 5 or 6, and what do you know?
Right.
Well, you go to people like us, like you will. Yeah, we're younger, but our whole world has been focused on making dealer lives better. And if you're not willing to accept that input and that insight, again, it's not going to get better for you. And there is some ego involved in this industry and how things work, and we all see it every day. And so I would encourage you to look past that and put down that ego for a little bit and look at some of these training options and accessories available to you.
Well, and there's a good chance too that the resources that were available 30 years ago have, for instance, have been surpassed by now.
Mm,
And there's also a pretty good chance that the technology is not going to revert back to what it was. So I think if you take the mix of their experience with our knowledge of some of the other things that can enhance that experience, then you've got a perfect storm.
absolutely. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out the questions now if no one else has anything, and you can always reach out to us from those follow-up emails. I just wanted to touch on really quickly, next month we have the West Coast Ultimate Boot Camp. Will, Ken, Joe, and myself will all be out in Roseville, ready to meet all of you folks. This is really big for those of you who are out here on the West Coast because
Mhm.
it's actually a lot closer to where you guys are at.
We're
If you're
doing a
in
preview.
Yep, exactly. If you're in California, Nevada, Arizona, Washington, Oregon, all of those spots that are really close, we're super close to Sacramento. Roseville is actually just about 20 minutes away. So make sure that you check this out. AJ, who's bringing the drinks? We can put that on Joe. I'm just kidding.
AJ, you come up for it, man. I'll buy you all the drinks you want, brother.
There we go. There is a Costco nearby too, AJ. I checked. Um, but it's such a good opportunity. Not only do we get to meet you guys, which is such a pleasure for us, you guys get to learn so much and actually be able to apply things. It's not just come sit and let's give you guys hours worth of lessons. It's very
Mhm.
open dialogue, open knowledge, shared experiences. It's super beneficial. You actually get to bring materials back to help your dealership and others at your dealership learn. A big plus here is because we're trying to reach 150 total folks to attend the ultimate boot camps. We're automatically giving you guys $150 off registration. Also, if you guys go and watch the video on the commercial truck training Facebook page, you guys can figure out how to save an additional $300 off registration. So I know that we have quite a few people that are already committed to coming. So make sure that you guys reserve your seats now. You can reach out to Will to make sure you guys have a spot, or you can go register directly at commercialtrucktraining.com.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, Claudia, I haven't shown this on the website yet, but we are kind of unofficially past halfway on the registration point. I
Oh, wow.
haven't shown that yet because we have some kind of, yes, I'm coming type of emails or conversations where the registration hasn't officially come through, but that number could jump from 7 seats remaining to 2 seats remaining by Friday. So if you're thinking
Absolutely.
about coming, grab the spot now.
Yep,
And,
definitely.
and guys, I can't stress enough the value of this boot camp. Not to beat a dead horse, but going last year and thinking, yeah, I'm going to present. I'm not going to pick anything up here. Absolutely, I can't wait to go back.
Yeah, same here. And I actually get to go for all 3 days now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Again, we recorded today's session, so we'll go ahead and send that out to you guys tomorrow. Feel free to share that with anyone, and you can always check out our YouTube channel if you guys missed the email or need to go back and watch some other recordings. If you need to contact us for any reason, or if you have any feedback or recommendations on topics you want us to cover in future webinars, please email us marketing@worktrucksolutions.com. And don't forget to sign up for that West Coast Ultimate Boot Camp. Like Will said, it's all coming to a close real soon. So make sure you get your seat. Thank you all. Thank you, Holly, Will, and Joe, for sharing your guys' insight. It was such a great presentation, and thank all of you online for attending today. Now, go get back to selling and doing what you do best, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.